I'm good, Christine. How are you? Happy
Doing
Friday.
great. Friday's doing good so far, but I heard you were looking at some other tools for to replace PowerPoint, so I'm really interested to see that. I mean, PowerPoint has been everywhere for so long, and now there seems to be so many tools to compete with it.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely an institution, and I think to definitely not necessarily always fully replace, but to definitely supplement your tech stack with, it's definitely a pretty useful. There are many useful kind of tools out there that you can kind of use into these ever-changing world.
Well, I'm interested to see this one. So there's many tools, but this is just one of them, and this has a pretty large AI component to it, doesn't it?
It does. That's kind of its claim to fame here. AI everything for every piece of content and everything. So there's a lot
All
of
right,
different features and things that we can kind of jump into.
let's go.
So this is Gamma or Gamma AI, and you can make a lot of different pieces of content. But for today, we're going to kind of focus primarily on building a deck. So Christine, we're both project managers, and we're doing some work on the AI space. So this deck is kind of themed towards PMs, but you can make it relevant to whatever your role is or whatever it is that you're doing. So before we get started, I want to just kind of go to the app and to the workspace a little bit. So this is Gamma. Um, so if you go over here, kind of some menu options here, you can make folders, things like that, to store different content in. If you go down to here, this is your media library, and any image that you've used in various presentations or whatever that's generated via Gamma can be stored here and found sort of there, kind of a pretty obvious uh, feature there. Then you go down to here and your templates. So I'll get into templates in more detail as we kind of go on a little bit, but this is kind of a place that you can store templates and find templates to use either before or as you're creating content there, just kind of like a place where they can be located. My favorite is a library, again, kind of similar to the template theme up here or the tab up there, but more of where you can store your theme. So if you have a theme that you've used for your team or teams or different clients, you can kind of create them and then store them here so they're easy to find and use. And then, of course, settings and all of your different setting features and things like that there. So we're going to go back up here to the top. And we're going to jump in and make um, a deck. So one thing to keep in mind, Christine, is that in PowerPoint or slides, everyone referred to the content as a deck and or your slides.
Hmm.
You can call your presentation in Gamma a deck, but you want to call and refer to the slides as a card.
Okay,
I'm going
so
to
a
kind of keep in
slide is
mind
a
there.
card. A slide is a card.
Exactly. So we're going to create a new deck here, and we're going to use this feature for today's demo, which is generate.
Okay,
And
so
this
you
is the
can then
AI.
generate from a prompt, or can you import then from if you already have a presentation that you just want Gamma to kind of clean up or to kind of customize, you can import that in as well.
You can do that. You can put a line of copy in, you can put a file with like notes or things like that in or a PDF, or you can import a Google slide or a PowerPoint
Hmm.
and tweak it from there. For today, we're going to stick to the AI generated version, which is going to use a prompt and then generate the output from that prompt.
And can you pick how many cards you want? So here I see it says 10 cards.
Yeah. So we have kind of one of the lower tier pricing options for us, but there are different options. On a free card, you can only have up to 10, on a free plan, excuse me, you can only have up to 10 cards. On a paid version, you can have up to
Oh, yeah, I see.
20 or more. Yeah. So
Okay,
you can kind of go pretty deep into the weeds there.
because everybody likes
So
those 50 slide presentations.
exactly. That take forever to go through when
That
half
takes
of them say
forever.
the same thing anyway, right? So I'm gonna go here. So I have a prompt. So again, we're both PMs, and this the content in this deck is kind of geared towards that. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick my prompt in here.
That's interesting. So you have the prompt and you can talk about what your role is and who your audience is
Yeah,
and kind of what you want your presentation to be, which I think is really one of the benefits of tools like this is that you're not just staring at just a blank card, a blank slide. You kind of get some start to your presentation that you can then customize and make it your own with your own company's template or whatever. But it gives you a starting point at least.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, and we can kind of go back to this in a minute, but it definitely kind of it prevents that kind of that you're staring at the screen and you have to have some, deck ready in 47 minutes and you have no
Right.
idea what you're doing, right? It kind of helps get
Mhm.
the wheels turning a little bit. Sometimes it actually also gives ideas that you didn't think of, like most LLMs and kind of AI features and things. It just keeps the blood flowing a little bit.
And though it is important though to note that if you are using a tool like this, to make sure you're not putting any company confidential information and make sure you're following the policies and procedures of the company that you're working for. You don't want to put too much corporate knowledge here.
Exactly. Also, for the love of all things, you want to make sure that you then read the content or the deck before you then send it off to
Right.
your client or your stakeholder because uh, it's a really useful tool, like most of these AI tools today. But you do want to make sure that it actually makes sense and that your formatting is correct and you move the M dashes and things like that
Okay.
before you kind of go live with anything.
So then you would then just say generate and it would generate then.
Yeah. So then let me show you the deck that we have ready to go here. And from the prompt that we just stuck in the
So
previous
the
screen,
it generated this. So
it generated this.
it generated the images. Those are AI generated images then that it did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So of course you can obviously, Christine, we just jumped in here and you can obviously tell that it's AI generated kind of from the get go. You can upload your own images if you choose to. It does give, it does kind of by default give you images. I have a few in here just for this today's demo here. Um, use as appropriate, right? Um, some of them are very obviously inappropriate for the content, and some of them are just very much AI generated. So you want to just be aware of that there.
So then how would a person then modify the text? Can you modify, I assume you can modify the text. Can you ask it to regenerate that slide or can you just manually just change it?
Yeah, so there's a couple options here. So if you wanted, for example, if you wanted to change the the copy on this home card here, I'm going to call it our cover card here. You can go up here to the agent here, and you can put in whatever you want to change
Okay.
um, in here, and kind of then hit generate, and it pops back up with kind of whatever you're changing
Yeah,
it to,
because I saw
right?
there, so you could say make it longer, make it shorter, regenerate, yeah, make it cleaner writing. So yeah, okay. So you have some options
Exactly.
there.
So some really good options. Keep in mind that if you want to do one card and one card only, you want to do it off of kind of this top navigation here, right? If you want to make more of a universal change, I'm going to just open this up just a little bit more. You can come up here and you can click on the agent option up here, which makes more universal changes to your deck.
Okay, that's good to know.
So if you every slide needs to have maybe dashes or numbers and you want to put bullet points in on every slide, you can kind of make that change here.
Interesting.
So that's kind of to get started there. So then moving on, right? So that actually we can set up here for now. So then some other things you want to keep in mind. So then you have your deck and you want to go up here to theme. So let's say, depending on kind of the paid version of the product that you have different options here, right? Sometimes on the higher tier options, you can select the theme that you want to use before hitting generate and use that. For this demo and for our use case, we don't have that feature, so we have to generate the deck and then go in and upload or change the deck to one of our pre-made templates.
Mhm.
So, for example, I like this kind of outline. The colors are kind of nice. It's kind of, I think, kind of a sharp, uh, visual, things like that. But let's say you wanted to change it. You come up here to the top and you can hit edit theme. So standard is kind of what you're going to find on your library, which we showed you on in the workspace. If you select one of these, you can change the colors, you can change the fonts, things like that. Or you can go custom, and custom is where you're going to find your brand colors. If you have a logo in there, if you have some kind of disclaimer or something for your client or for your company, everything's kind of going to be there. I'm going to keep the theme that we have set for this deck, but that's how you would do that if you need to. Any questions so far?
No?
Okay. So we're zipping right along here. So going back over here to Christine. So let's say you want to change this again, one card, in one card only. You can come up here to card styling. And again, you can kind of change different features here. So if you want to change kind of your layout, so maybe you want the image to be up at the top, you can do that. This is very similar to like a Google slide or a PowerPoint. So it should look pretty familiar, right? You can add, different color, different headings, things like that. Also, if you want to change one word, you can click on that. You can highlight the sentence or the word there. And again, this is like any editing tool and any normal, tool that we use every day. So if it's Google Workspace, if it's Word, whatever the case may be, you kind of get all the features. You can change the text. You can go from a text to a header if you want. You can make it bold, underline, kind of all those standard things there as well. I would use this kind of if you have like a couple simple fixes, or you want to kind of not use credits. Credits do go by very quickly, so you want to be kind of strategic about how quickly and how often you use your edits. So if you want to be aware of that and you want to make a simple change, you can do it just by clicking on the text there. So we're going to go down to some features over here on the right-hand side. So we have basic blocks. There's a lot of options that you can add in. So let's say you want to do a different kind of a box for a heading or something like that. You can kind of stick that in, for example, here, and kind of it gives you that text option there. And then you can just get rid of view. But there's kind of some fun things if you want to have kind of rows or different types of lists. You can kind of do that too. Some interactive things. One of Gamma's kind of value propositions is the fact that the decks are more interactive than maybe generic PowerPoint might be. So you can kind of do some interactions with your team or whoever you're presenting to with that here as well, with that feature. So we're kind of going through, and then you can do images.
There's a free version though, correct? To kind of play around with.
Yeah, there's a free version. Yeah, you can kind of get started with the free version, and then there's 3 or 4 different paid options from there. Like you can have different features and team capacities and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So then if you want to add an image, again, there's a lot of images options here. A stock image, you can generate one with AI. Again, that does use credit, so we use them carefully. So just, again, kind of a standard, find an image and drop it in. Then layouts, again, like anything that we use every day, you can change your layout to be a box with outlines, with lines, with shapes in them, different types of lists, things like that there. Some of your smart diagrams could be used for, processes or just a more visual type of communication. Graphs and charts, pretty obvious, but if you want to have data that you want to highlight somewhere, you can insert your data and generate a chart. Videos and media, they do come with a higher option. You can add like a YouTube link if you want. Some of these features you have to have either the paid feature on these integrations, or you have to have a higher tier on Gamma. So just something to keep in mind.
Well, a lot of great features. I really like the proposition of not having to just stare at a blank deck. But then it does seem to be pretty familiar just with PowerPoint or slides to kind of how you would actually then edit each of these. So then can you export this then to a different format?
You can export this. I would recommend exporting as a PDF. You can export as a PNG, a PowerPoint, or a Google slide. Keep in mind that when you export, oftentimes the formatting and the colors change drastically. So if you have to send it to somebody, you might want to, be sure that you really go through it again and make sure that it stays kind of cohesive, because it does change pretty dramatically. So a workaround, a lot of people will export as a PDF. send the PDF to their clients, have any changes noted in the PDF, and then their team comes back and tweaks it in Gamma itself.
Great. And then you said there was multiple tiers, so someone could just go try the free version, do a comparison in PowerPoint and Gamma and see which one that they like best.
Exactly, and kind of figure out what you want, what the use case for your team is, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to kind of see the different tools and what's out there to see if it helps your workflow.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think like Christine, you said it earlier. I think it's you don't start with just a blank slide, right? The images are there, and even if you change the images, kind of the idea is there, right? So if you have to get something done quickly, it's not then going to your creative team where yourself personally and saying, oh gosh, what image do I want for this or that or whatever, and how do I lay this out? So it definitely kind of helps get the blood flowing a little bit.
All right. Well, sounds good. Well, thank you for the demo. Appreciate it.